Call the meeting to order at 1:02. My announcement is here. This open meeting of the Historic Structures Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's Executive Order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Historic Structures Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join in. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to share your screen on your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's websites unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before doing so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each to by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone and computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So, I need to, so how does this go? The members present, Brooke.
Aye.
Angus.
Aye.
Lucy.
Aye.
And the staff, Holly.
Present.
Thank you. So let's go to the first.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Brooke.
Second.
Thanks, Angus. All those in favor, Lucy?
Aye.
Angus?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
And I'm in favor. Okay.
Can I ask a question first about a previous application?
Sure.
Holly, the installation that the town wanted to put down at Children's Beach, did that get to HDC? And if so, what was the reaction?
It's on the agenda for tomorrow night. They didn't get to it.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Holly, I have a similar question for 122 Main, where they were going to redo all of the windows. Did the HDC, they did review that. Did they ask for it back, or did they just make an approval?
Yeah, they asked for revisions, more information.
Okay.
They weren't satisfied with what was provided.
Will we see those also? Okay.
Looking at the agenda for tomorrow, it looks like it's on it, but it wasn't. Again, it all has to do with when things are submitted and all that stuff. I don't believe, based on this lengthy agenda, that they will get to it, because it's on the fourth page, and it's down 13 off of old business for this week. So, I don't know. I haven't seen what they've resubmitted, and I would think that that's something that you all should look at. So hopefully we can put it on for next week, and I'll request Kadeem to do that.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, and I have one more. What was it, 84 Main Street with the 2 skylights? Was there any action taken on that?
That was approved. That was.
Even with
and yes, that was something that I had asked the commission to clarify on. Because that was something that we all, myself and this body, had concerns on. And they'd rather see the two skylights on the same plane versus having a new dormer on the rear. The fact that it wasn't on the main elevation of the structure was sufficient. So, yeah, I did bring that up. I think Mary, who's listening, can confirm on that she heard me ask that question.
All right, thank you.
But we do have election of officers as well, too.
Oh. So we should do that first? Yes.
Yes, sir. Get that over with.
Okay, I guess I'll take nominations for the chairman position.
I nominate Mickey.
Mickey,
I would like to, concur with the other members.
No, any other nominations? I guess the three of you spoke. Okay,
landslide.
I'll take that to a vote. All those in favor? Lucy?
Aye.
Angus?
Aye.
Brooke?
Yes, sir.
And I'll go along with that one too.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thanks.
Sure. Vice chair, nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Angus.
I was just going to nominate you, Brooke. Come on.
I beat you to it.
Brooke beat you to it, Angus.
I'll second.
right.
I'll second Angus.
Okay, all those in favor of Angus as vice chair?
Aye.
Lucy? Angus?
Thank you. Sure. Yes.
Brooke?
Aye.
And I'm in favor too. Holly, do we have a secretary or somebody to nominate?
I believe just president and vice president. Yeah, here we go. Just chair and vice chair is sufficient for you all. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thanks. All right, now we can go to the first one, which is 16 Western Ave.
So as you all know, this is not within the old historic district, but it is obviously within an area that's important. I indicated on the National Historic Landmark data that this is a circa 1938 bungalow and possibly the Wee Weeder Inn dining hall. You all are probably familiar with this structure. Getting an addition.
So, anybody want to comment on this one? Angus, go ahead.
Holly, I appreciate you bringing it to us. Often things that are not actually in the core downtown slip through without our review. And so I appreciate you bringing this to us. This is a fairly prominent spot, Surfside. And I feel like following along with the precedent of there being a hip dormer in this hip roof, that all makes sense. But the scale of the proposed hip dormers, especially the one that I guess is on the west side, dominates the roof in an awkward way. So as far as the proposal goes, I would say that the hip dormers it would probably be appropriate to add hip dormers on the roofs that there aren't hips, but not to the degree that there are. I would stay closer to the existing hip scale of that hip dormer that exists on the north side. Other than that, I think that it's a tasteful proposal.
Thanks, Angus. Brooke?
Yeah, I think it's a great looking addition. I think really in keeping with the area. And I agree that the west dormer could probably be pinched a little bit. not a lot. It wouldn't have to be much to make a difference, but I think it would be helpful. Whether or not you'd ever see it in full view or just isometrically, maybe that'll have an effect on the visibility, but that's all I've got to say about that.
Thanks, Brooke. Lucy?
I agree with Angus's comments. I would like to make a suggestion that there is full documentation with photographs of this building because it is an iconic structure on the South Shore.
Okay.
Before
These
and
are the photos. Yeah, these are the photos of the current state of the structure. I believe it's been sold.
yeah.
Hmm.
Sitting here.
But because of the condition of the current structure, it would be very interesting to see the before and afters.
Mhm.
And it could be, if it's done properly or the outcome is good, it could be a great example to be used by the HDC.
I'd like to add something, if I may.
Right. Yep.
I'm looking at all the exposed rafter tails, which is a detail I always like. What I don't like is when people go 16 inches on center with the rafter tails. And if you look at the existing photos, those look more like they're 24 inches on center.
Mhm.
I think that is a much more historically appropriate approach to doing exposed rafter tails.
Good catch. I like that. Thanks, Brooke.
I agree. It's Angus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 16 on center is not historic. So the 24 as it appears to be, sometimes 30, is what would have been there.
Yeah. They should at least, try to duplicate what's existing. You can see those tails on that picture there that they should.
That might even be 32.
Yeah, whatever is existing, they should try to match.
Yeah.
So I wanted to comment on this, and this is not a negative comment by any means, but Holly, can you go back to the elevations and maybe the first page of elevations, which is the west and north, probably, yeah. It wasn't evident to me at first, but it does to me look, when you look closely, this is they're probably going to be removing the entire roof and rebuilding this up a little higher. Does anybody else notice
I noticed that too.
Okay. So I think it might be at least, again, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to this, but I think
Hi. Oh, sorry, Mickey, I just joined. I'm sorry I was late.
Is that Lisa?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
hold on, let me turn on my video. I just realized what the time was. I
That's fine.
apologize.
We're not done.
I know, I wanted to, I'm sure you've covered a lot already, but I just wanted to say the intent of this was to try to, I don't know if you've seen the photos of the existing house, but the person that owns it currently is let it go into like severe disrepair. And so the person that I'm working for is interested in purchasing the property, but obviously for the cost, it needs to accommodate more people. So the porch in the back the roof is caving in, needs to be rebuilt. So the intent was to kind of keep the aesthetic, the character of it, but to try to make it a little bit bigger and a little bit more accommodating to a larger, more people. And one way of doing that was to raise the porch up a bit and then to keep the same form, but that gave us more ceiling height on the second floor. And then to connect the garage and move the garage back as an added wing.
Yeah, you probably missed it, Lisa, but generally, I think the comments were pretty favorable. There was a concern about the west elevation dormer, which is probably the biggest one you're putting on, that maybe that was a little bit overscaled compared to the other hip dormers on the house existing.
You mean the one that is to the right of the front door?
Yes.
Yeah, we're treating that less like the intention was to treat it less like a dormer initially and have it be more like a wing, but I didn't love the 2-story elevation. So that's how it ended up being a deeper dormer. Do you think it would be more successful as a 2-story addition, like just another hipped element?
No, I don't think I would like to see the 2-story shingled wall in that, on that elevation.
Yeah.
So I like your idea of pulling it back. I think just, if you could just maybe pull it in a foot or so on the sides, maybe just to scale it down a little bit. That was the general suggestion.
Okay.
And then the other comment was that you're indicating exposed rafter tails, which is great because it's existing. But it almost looks like you're showing them at 16 on center, whereas the existing should be, we thought that you should at least measure what's existing and try to
Okay.
match that.
I could do that. One other interesting thing that we found is that behind the clapboard, and I didn't send Holly a picture of this because I'm not sure what we're doing. Behind the shingle on the water side, we found an old clapboard detail that was like 6 inches of flat clapboard, and then a scoop.
Yeah, the German clapboard. It's in a lot of the bungalows out in Wisconsin underneath the shingles.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
so
cool.
it's really cool, and we don't know where we should utilize it, if we should utilize it, if the HGC would allow it. Was
I
it
think it'd be
painted
great.
before? Is it generally painted, not left natural, correct?
It's
Definitely.
painted.
Yeah.
It's usually painted.
And why did they stop? Why did they get rid of it and just maintenance?
Yeah, I mean, I think like out in Wisconsin on the Rosalie Lane cottage, the cottage. There's 2 buildings there, and they both of them had the German clapboard underneath the shingles, and the clapboard was paint. It still had its paint on it, and I think what they did is they just in those days when they built the bungalows, they used that clapboard as sheathing as well as a finish, because you can see it on the inside, in the exposed studs. And I think that they just shingled over it as like a time saver, and a maintenance thing, so that they had
Yeah,
25
well, I can
years.
only just see a small section of it where the shingles have blown off, but we thought it was interesting. And, again, I don't know what your feeling is about reinstating it, or,
I think it'd be cool.
If my suggestion would be not to make it as a general sheathing statement, but maybe as an artifact, a visible part of the building, maybe on the back, the water side. Is that where you found it?
yeah, that's where we found it.
Yeah.
That just happens to be where some shingles have blown off that we could see it. I don't know if it's on the front. I assume it's under there.
It might be. I would personally, I'd rather see this as a shingle building than with
Okay,
what we sometimes call novelty siding.
yeah.
But and so the other suggestion that I was going to make was I liked the original color of the trim, because it makes the building sort of stand out. It's kind of a yellowish color, and it's a unique building. I thought that it would be worth considering trying to match, instead of just white trim, using the existing trim color.
Yeah, okay, we can look at that. I can talk to him. I think it's really hard to determine what the color was originally, because if I go to the building, I think I don't think it was yellow initially.
Right.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the boards to see, but
That's
Okay.
what I was going to ask, what the original color was, if you've been able to see layers of paint that you could sort of get down to the,
It looks
Yeah,
like
painting it properly, they probably took it all the way down to the wood for many years, but.
right, right.
if you zoom in on the photos, it looks like it was dark green.
I was just gonna say, it's probably, my guess would be dark green. I think of Davy Jones's Locker and
yeah.
Aloha in Sconset. I don't recall what Aloha is now, but Davy Jones's Locker certainly has got the dark green. And here we've got everything white, including the front door.
Yeah.
Yeah, the front
Green,
door
if you
definitely would
considered the
not,
dark green.
yeah, the front door would not be white. That could definitely be painted a darker color.
Yeah, I don't care if it's dark or, almost anything but white. I'd
Yeah.
love to see this be different
Yeah.
than white.
I think that's a good point. It's a unique building, and therefore it should probably have a unique paint, well, something other than white.
Yeah.
The dark greens actually sounds really good.
I think if anything, I think they're gonna probably want to keep it on the lighter side, I would guess.
Mhm.
So they would tend to, go to sort of the cream yellow, which is similar to what, oh my God, the building out in Dionys where the windmill is, the trim color of those.
Oh, Westcliff.
Westcliff, yeah.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Anybody have any other comments on this one?
Just, I like the
Well,
building.
I would show the owner a photograph of Davy Jones's locker. They've got big porches on that house and they've got the dark green trim on it.
Yep. I can definitely do that. Well,
Or
I'm
sand and weed because of all the hips, the hipped gables and the hip roof. Sand and weed on Hulbert.
okay.
Almost it's the jetties.
Oh, that's what the Johnson's house?
Yeah.
The Stuart Johnson's house. Okay.
Because there's a combination of white and green there that works well.
Oh, well, that's a good point. I can take a look at that. Okay, well, I'm appreciate you guys understanding the design direction and the intent and liking the direction.
And thank you for bringing it through us too.
Thank you for what?
Mickey had mentioned about it appears that the wall height is growing a little bit, which changes the proportions of the eave to the tops of the windows. And I think you could accomplish both if that's what's happening.
Well,
If the eave projects out a little bit further, it would actually bring that line down a little bit lower to closer resemble what exists, at least on the north side.
right. Yeah, the wall height is not changing. The first floor ceiling height is not changing, but the intent was to bring the porch up and the window head heights up so that the wall appears to be taller, even though it's not taller. So the windows are bigger and the head height is higher, but that allows the porch to go up, which then it gives me the second floor space that works.
So you're not taking the roof off.
Looking at the north elevation,
Mhm.
there's 2 layers of shingles, and on the proposed, there's 6 layers of shingles. So
That's right. That's right. The roof is coming up, but not the first floor. The first floor wall height was remaining the same. But as I said, existing, there's just not enough room to even get legal bedrooms on the second floor. It
Right.
just doesn't work. So the design intent was to try to keep the character of the building while make it usable.
Mhm.
on
I
the
guess
second
what
floor.
I'm suggesting is just being able to keep the eave height and the window height closer together. It's just by
Yeah,
pulling it out further, it wouldn't change any of the plan or the wall height necessarily.
yeah. The only thing that I'd have to check is from a zoning perspective, because we're in the setback as it is dramatically into the front yard.
Yep.
I know that overhangs don't normally count, but if it gets exaggerated, that might become an issue.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I understand your comment.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, thanks. I think I'm gonna mute because I think I have a couple other things, but I'll just,
Okay. All right, you got the garage in here next too, I think. Demo the garage.
is that next? Let's see, let me look at the agenda.
Yeah. Molly, you're bringing up the garage. Lisa, do you know what the age of this building is?
I don't. I'm sorry. I can try to research it. I don't off the top of my head.
The HDC survey from the 80s didn't indicate a date, and the NHL data didn't specify anything different for the garage versus the main dwelling.
I can see if I can find some interior pictures, which might help.
Yeah.
Hold on. How do I get rid of you guys so I can?
didn't give us anything.
View options, exit full screen. Okay, let me just see if I can pull these up and then I'll share my screen if I can find them.
Okay.
Okay.
Projects. 16 Western, let's see where is it? Garage, okay. Okay, so can I share my screen, Holly? Let's see, share. Sorry, it's trying to open. That's the interior.
So it's not plywood, it's board. It's
Mm-hmm.
fairly old.
Looks like the framing is spaced more than 16 too.
Mhm.
That lightweight truss system seems like something from the 60s.
Well, does anybody have any concerns about the demo of this building?
No,
Brooke, Angus?
No,
Now,
Yeah, nor I. Lucy, did you say anything?
no, I said no,
Okay.
no concerns.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
And thank you.
yep, thanks.
thank you, Lisa.
Lisa, would you mind emailing me that one photo for the file?
Absolutely not. I will email it right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next one is, I think it's 80 Pleasant.
Sure, when this house was built, I would assume recently.
I'm not sure how visible this is going to be from anywhere.
I have no concerns.
Yeah, anybody have any concerns with this one? Brooke,
No.
Hank?
I think it's a welcome addition.
And I'm fine with it, so we can move on. (218) Cliff Road. Demo dwelling.
Hello, everybody.
Hi,
My name's Michael. I'm from Workshop APD. So I'm just here to represent this project.
do you want to open with anything, or should you want us to just start looking at it?
You can just go for it. That's okay. Thank you.
Okay. This I know is Ken Lane's house.
Yep. Previously, there's a new owner, which is not reflected here on these initial documents, but
What is the age of the house?
Yeah,
it says it on the property report card. I believe it is from the, if you keep scrolling down, I clouded it specifically.
it's not on the application.
It's not, but
And
it's
I
in
wouldn't
the
go by
subject-
the tax assessor. Michael, just as a point of reference.
Says 1930.
Not always are these dates correct.
Yeah, we weren't able to find anything to override that year build information though. So that's our understanding.
I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. I was able to, there is an aerial map from 1935 that the town had that I found. This is the area over here. This was the, so This is the area in question, and as you can see, there is a structure in that particular location. So it quite possibly could be that structure.
Can you point to that, Holly?
Right here.
No, it's to the right
Can
of
you
your
see?
cursor. There you are.
Yeah, there.
That right there.
That looks like the studio.
Yeah, the smaller structure.
And the date on this is
This one.
1935?
The date on that was 1935. Yeah, I got it from the NHA's website from the town aerial map. So that would kind of go in line with what tax assessors, but they're not
And-
100% accurate all the time.
And just as a little bit of extra information, the proposal is there's a lot of interested parties in taking the old studio, but there's no interest in taking the house at the moment, as it's also quite difficult to get it out of the hollow, the sort of natural depression in the land there that exists. So the house would likely be a knockdown, whereas the studio would likely be a donate.
Okay. What are our thoughts? Anybody want to start?
I'm happy to start.
Go ahead, Angus.
The modern part of the structure, the house part, I don't have an issue with the loss of it other than waste, but the studio that is probably 1935 or earlier, I would rather see saved and reused, incorporated, ideally moved if not possible.
I think there's a separate application for the studio demo, which we'll probably deal with next. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Is that what you're calling the shed?
Correct.
okay. So
Thank you.
thanks, Angus, but we'll pick up the studio next.
Cut and paste my comment.
Lucy, any thoughts on this one?
No, no thoughts.
Brooke?
No, not really. I've actually been in this house a couple of times, and you know, by my memory anyway, there was nothing really historic or anything special about it.
Mhm.
I have never been into the back studio, but yeah, as far as the front structure, no concerns.
Yeah, I have similar thoughts. I would, sort of wish that maybe the house could be reused as the second dwelling. I know you're actually proposing a garage as the second dwelling, but I guess similar statement, no serious concerns, but I'd like to see an attempt made to reuse the structure. So I think that's it for that one. And then we'll go on to the studio or shed. I guess you already started this one. Why don't you go ahead?
So if this is the structure that we're thinking about is in that 1935 photo,
It's not.
Ideally it would stay in its location, and be worked with, but otherwise I would want it to be saved for somewhere.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Brooke.
So what we're calling the studio, or what was being called the studio, which was attached to the dwelling, that my impression is that was the historic structure that was, and the dwelling had been added to that. This other structure, which is a shed, and I guess also a studio. You know, just looking at the aerial photo that Holly posted, this looks smaller than what she had posted just visually.
Thanks, Brooke. That's my interpretation, is
So
that,
I think that, you know, they're gonna, like I said, I don't know that we're really, like, this shed has got any value.
Okay,
And Holly, can you put that aerial up again? The NHL aerial?
See it now? Is that
I
up?
don't see it.
Nope. Okay, hold on. I gotta stop share, go back in.
Brooke, you want the photo, the 1935 photograph?
Yes, please.
There it is.
Yeah, I don't think that's the shed. I think that.
Yeah.
I think that the
Right.
dwelling was added to that structure that we're looking at. And that's the structure that I'm hoping will find a home.
Hey, Michael, could you try to do a little bit more research on this and find out if what we're saying is correct?
I can, yes. I can, yes. So if that portion of the existing house is the historic studio, which was also in this old photograph, your interest would be in preserving at least that piece of the studio in part of the new proposal or in some other capacity.
Correct.
Right. So we could verify that that is the historic piece and not the rest of the house and not the shed. And let you know that. Yes.
Okay,
Happy to.
thank you.
Thank you.
So getting back to the actual shed, sounds like they're even less concerned about keeping the old shed. Is that right?
Correct.
right, this structure looks modern, at least the fenestration does. And I think the old structure is what the house was built up against.
Mhm.
And Ken Lehman is a notable Nantucket artist. And so I feel like there's a cultural value to that in the building.
Mhm, especially his studio space, if that's what that was in the back.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point, Angus. So it sounds like no, or Lucy, did you want to comment on the shed?
Well, it looked like to me that from the NHA aerial photograph that the building that shows up has two masses. Could that be actually be the main house? It's hard to tell because of the shadows.
Yeah, it's, right.
See,
Michael?
look at the roof shadows.
Yeah, we can do kind of a careful assessment of what was added and what was existing. And I'll get those documents from Holly so that we have the full picture of it in our presentation package.
Yeah,
I
it's
can
very
email
hard to
this
tell from
PDF,
this.
I would
So-
appreciate that, Holly.
JPEG to you.
Yeah, but I'm fairly certain though that piece, the historic studio, I might have referred to it incorrectly as the shed, is the piece that there's great interest in being removed and taken elsewhere. So I can also come back with that confirmation if you'd like.
Great.
Yeah.
That'll help.
And just to note, the freestanding structure has the freestanding studio that we're looking at now has CMU foundation. So it's modern foundation.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay. We good with this one?
But you're okay with this one, right?
Yeah, I think we're all okay with,
But definitely want documentation though.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There seems to be three parts to this existing compound: the main house, the studio attached to the back, and then this separate shed. So we kind of want a little bit more clarification on origins and dates on each.
Got it.
So new main house. So I want to start out the discussion about this this aspect of the project, we're not in the old historic district anymore. We were looking at this because it was an old building about to be demoed. So I'm kind of questioning what our real jurisdiction is on the new design on this property. You know, that's,
I agree with you. I don't know that it's our place to discuss this.
yeah,
Yeah, and it doesn't incorporate any
It's
of the
kinda
old
like
pieces of the
old, right?
building
Yeah.
in the design at the moment, so that wouldn't be part of it.
well, perhaps that's something that you might want to consider, though, is to try to utilize some of the old structure in the design of the new one. And, you know, having said we don't have any jurisdiction over it, you know, I just couldn't help but make a comment on the design. It just looks like a really tall, boxy house for that location. I just think it's not, it doesn't fit into a rural design category look. So I don't know if anybody else wants to sort of make an offhand comment, even though it's probably not really ours. Angus?
I agree. This is more for the neighborhood rather than, you know, just the outskirts of town, but not in a rural setting. Unfortunately, this hill has been built on in ways that really are in contradiction of the guidelines as far as building on top of hills rather than in them. And this exacerbates that by having a 2-story wall anywhere on the house. It also is mixing themes of a 5-bay or, you know, the typical Nantucket house in its gable volume in the center part. But then there's cottage corners, which is not the same design theme. And then there are modern elements of mold windows and a porch that has a different veneer on it. Shingles, and very streamlined, you know, front porch that looks like a flat roof and plain posts. So I feel like there are elements that are fine when they're in their own setting, but all 3 of them together doesn't ring true. And I think you're right, Mickey. We wouldn't normally be reviewing this area, but it's on our agenda, so it's, you know, we need to.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Anybody else?
I agree with what's been said.
I do too.
Okay. All right. Thank you. There's more to this, I think. Second dwelling. Do we want to go here, or do we want to move on? Because does anybody want to comment on the second dwelling application? Not seeing a lot of yeses. Okay. Lack of yeses, and then there's the pool. I'm going to say the same thing. Any desire to make any comments on?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Michael, I think we're good. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Mike?
Thank you, everybody.
Michael.
Bye.
Thanks. So,
I'll annotate that. No
yeah,
comments for those.
yeah, there are probably more general comments than specifically relative to HSAB business. What else do we have on the agenda? Didn't we do everything else?
There's 4. Cherry
We
Street.
are now into old business.
So we reviewed
14
these
Lowell.
already. Right?
No, these should be revisions that came back since then.
Oh,
Well, Cherry Street was a view. So it's just coming through us as a formality.
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Well,
correct.
They're-
You
They
are
weren't on the
correct
view
that.
packet, so I don't have the drawings of them. So you have to pull those up.
Okay, I'll get, yep. Oh, come on.
Mickey, I just emailed the documents for those 4 applications.
So, and they have revisions?
I would assume so. If they're
Yeah,
coming-
so these were last heard at the HDC on December 7th, which was last Monday. Provided your comments, and then these were hold revisions. So they had a really quick turnaround.
Okay.
I did, since we have been meeting this afternoon, I forwarded you a letter of concern from abutters. About pretty much same concerns that you all have had since the beginning about scale and massing and appropriateness within this area. That was still very similar concerns with the commission as well. So let's see the revisions.
Excuse me, Holly, where is the letter from the abutters?
I forwarded it to you all.
I've
Can you
got
give
it.
us a quick recap?
Absolutely. So, I mean, this comes from the neighbors at 7 and 9 Barnabas Lane and 20 Woodbury Lane. Scale of buildings, Lowell Place is a street of quaint dwellings, many of them 1-story and surrounded by prestigious green space. We believe the proposed height of the new buildings, even after revisions, is inappropriate and out of scale with the surroundings. Further, the garage and main house combined stretch setback to setback across 2 sides of the property, creating a single massive building from any viewing angle. This is inconsistent with the surrounding buildings. Design of the buildings. Woodbury and Barnabas Lanes follow a tight design requirements of the Woodbury Association to create a look as close as possible to Nantucket in the mid to late 19th century. Lowell Place is filled with mostly small cottages, some dating to before the Civil War and others in the early 19th century. The proposed structure is inconsistent in its design and fits neither with the look of Lowell nor the abutting Woodbury and Barnabas houses. Location of outbuildings or secondary structures. Throughout the surrounding neighborhood, Lowell, including 14 Lowell prior to recent demolition, Barnabas, Woodbury, and Main Street, secondary structures such as garages or guest houses are subordinate to the main structure both in stature and in location on the plot. That is, they are smaller, usually a single story recessed towards the back. This plan puts the garage at nearly the full height in the main house, and its primary structure is viewed from Lowell Place. Placing of the pool equipment. And this is something that I definitely need to emphasize with the commission, because they're absolutely correct. The pool approval done on September 29th specifically required the pool equipment to be located behind a shed that has since been demolished. We are concerned about where this equipment will now be located as the proposed house now fills this location. We are far from experts in the HDC process, but believe and hope this may be cause for revisiting the pool approval. And I just want to notate that this is a really good abutter letter. So
Mhm.
that is the letter that I received today.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just looking at these drawings for the first time now. Is anybody ready to make any comments on this?
Well, I did walk up there yesterday, and Lowell Place really is an iconic little kind of pocket neighborhood in a way. I mean, it's the, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it's the only area directly off Main Street that has maintained these very modest, what I would call working man's homes. And I worry that if something large gets approved, there goes the whole neighborhood.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that, Lucy. Do you have any specific comments? I mean, I guess you're talking about scale mostly at this point.
I'm talking about scale. I mean, this is right near Caton Circle. It's the scale, it's the ground cover, the spacing of the buildings, the whole thing. I mean, it's the kind of neighborhood you can imagine kids running from house to play.
Mhm. Yeah. Angus, is that your hand?
I think the a butter letter is pretty close to what our comments were when we first saw this, and I don't see any appreciable differences between the original proposal and what we're looking at now. You know, dropping the ridge of a foot or 2 or 5, you know, it's not really changing the character that isn't fitting in the two neighborhoods that this is in between. It's not it's not matching the new neighborhood behind or this little neighborhood of bungalows. So it feels out of place there.
Yeah.
So having just been through 5 HDC meetings for a property on Prospect Street with a project which was basically in between, architecturally speaking, I think that, you know, I think that there's definitely room for, you know, to go one way or the other. So to that end, I get, you know, I agree with what's been said, but I think that there's no reason why this couldn't transition to in one direction or the other, because I certainly had to do it.
Thanks, Brooke. Yeah, I'm going to just kind of say that I agree with everything that's been said, especially about the scale. I think that it feels like a really big building, especially the length of it. It's a 2-story gabled forward building, and it's just a form that you just don't see in that area of town. Certainly not on Lowell Place, and not even on Woodbury. It just doesn't fit into either one of the styles in either of those neighborhoods. I think it's just, you know, I appreciate some of the movement they've made towards lowering it, but I think it just needs a lot more work for me to feel really comfortable with this house in that location. It's just, I mean, it's actually, to me, it's the location for an outbuilding or a second dwelling, yet it's much bigger than anything on the street. So it just feels awkward in many respects.
Yeah, even starting with, you know, you come down the driveway and it's, you know, 2 garage doors. I mean, that's totally not in keeping with this neighborhood.
Yeah, the siding there's a lot of problematic things about this design that I wish could be done a little bit more sensitively to the neighborhood. And
Mickey, I think that's a good point about the scale in relation to the street and the site, that this is where an outbuilding or, you know, some sort of auxiliary building that's smaller than the street forward structure. And this virtually dwarfs that structure and everything on the street.
Yep. I know it's a separate lot, and you know, to the owner, it's their primary dwelling, but it has the position of a secondary dwelling on the lot. And I don't know if we can ignore that. So, anything else?
Mr. Chairman, this
Oh,
is
yes.
Vicky Raycroft. I'm in a butter. May I speak?
Yes, please go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I'm in complete agreement with everything you all have said. I'm really grateful the other abutters have spoken up. We've been attending from our house to watch this because we're directly next door. And our issue has all along been that it feels out of keeping with the neighborhood, and we purposely bought into that neighborhood because of its nature. And so we're really grateful for your attention to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you to the other abutters for writing that letter. That's a good one. That's helpful. Helpful to hear from the neighborhood. Anyway, there's another one for this
Yes,
property.
the garage. Commission really didn't get into the garage last week, pretty much because of time, but very similar. So let's see what yeah. Or revisions appropriate to the house design. Still in the same location. That has not changed.
Holly, was the sighting of the garage brought up at the last HTC meeting? And if it was, what were their general comments about that?
I've brought it up since the first time you all brought it up, so that it should be more subordinate. It really hasn't. They've been primarily focusing on the main dwelling.
Mhm.
So
Was there any traction on that comment about the location of it being so prominent? Did they get into that at all?
no, the discussion last week was very, very brief on this because of because of the length of the agenda, and B, I think Matt understood some of the comments, but I did ask the chair to allow me to read your comments into the record, regardless if they weren't going to really dabble too much into it. So
Okay. Anybody on this one? Brooke?
Probably just probably just a reiteration, but I think it could be stepped back from the face of the proposed house by quite a bit.
Yep.
I think it just makes it look like one big wall. It's not an unattractive structure, but I think that where it's located does not help its cause.
I can't tell. Have they lowered the plate? It looks like they lowered the plate a little bit, but I would say take it another notch down. It still looks like there's room to drop the roof of this building. Angus?
Yeah, I'm not sure what height the doors are. Maybe they're 8 feet or whatever, but it looks like the plate could come down to the height of the doors.
Mhm.
There isn't any sign that there's anything happening in that garage. There isn't a stair or anything showing, trying to get a second floor out of it. So there's quite a large window in the gable, and the roof is still much higher than what appears to be necessary. But just again, it's like the house. It's just the scale is too large.
Mhm. I think that window is kind of out of scale for a garage gable window. Lucy, did you want to say something?
No, I agree with everybody.
Okay. Okay. Siding, height, and then in the window. Moving on.
Mickey, just as far as the fenestration is and making the notes, those 4-light windows that are in the lower part are very barn-like. I mean, they're that all makes sense. It's the double hung 2/2
Mhm.
that in the gable that's not making a lot of sense.
Yep. Right. The others are actually appropriate, I think. But yeah. Gable and windows. Okay. What is next on the agenda? I don't have mine.
one is 26 Westchester. This one's been a while since you all have seen this. Sorry. Yeah, this was October.
Is this the swimming pool in the backyard?
Not a swimming school, a spa.
A water feature.
Water
Yeah,
feature.
yeah, right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is anybody here to represent this one? Okay. Brooke?
Yes, given where it was and where it is now, I think there's a lot of improvements that have been made. It looks like, from the site plan and also from the section that they have decided to do more berming and less retaining, and I really appreciate those changes. As drawn, I have far fewer concerns than when this first came through.
Mhm. Yeah, it looks much better considering where it started. Anybody else?
I agree.
Lucy?
I agree.
So sounds like no concerns on this one. And
I think your comments previously, along with the HDC and staffs, I think have resonated with the applicant, and that they've finally addressed those concerns.
yeah, good. Thank them for us. The last one, Cherry Street. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Mickey. Can I speak a little to this?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So the system that we're putting on, Patsy Wright, who owns the house, already has some solar panels on there.
Mhm.
It's a necessity for her because her basement floods. She has a sump pump running all the time, which is working fine, except when there's a power failure. So she needs batteries recharged, and with solar, it can keep recharging as long as the sun's out, but there's usually enough of that to keep it going. The system she has right now is not sufficient to do what she wants or what she needs. So we are proposing to put in some more panels that are even further from the edge of the house and tucked in more than the existing ones. Her comments are, if she could see it from any of the streets, she wouldn't want it. And it was held for a view with the HDC. And, we're contending that it's not visible. And again, if there's anything that could be visible, it would have been the existing ones that you can see right there that are, they're more towards the edge than anything that we are putting on.
Okay. I'm going back to see what our comments were. So the HDC just called this a view, so they didn't really comment on it. Is that true?
Right. You commented that her roof was gray, and that we understand a black roof is better, but this is not visible from the road. So, and she financially can't. She just replaced this gray roof,
Okay.
so she can't put another roof on.
Yeah, I think so. I found the comments that at least we had posted. It said probably not visible, change to black roof shingles, move panels away from edge as much as possible, and low profile to the roof surface, about not to exceed 4 inches above the roof plane. So I think we were generally not opposed to the concept of having panels here, but just wanted to mitigate it as much as we could. But I understand if it's a new roof, you don't want to redo it, a new roof. Anybody have any comments on this one? Angus?
Yeah, I think it's a waste to replace a new gray roof with a black roof just so that it blends in better with the panels. It would be great, the next time the roof is done, 30 years from now, if if they could match. But the main concern was just it being visible. And thank you for going green.
No, I have no concerns.
Lucy?
No concerns.
Yeah, I think we were generally fine with this, but thanks for coming and explaining all that.
Well, thank you.
And good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, I think, is that it for our agenda?
Can I make a motion to approve the comments?
Oh, hang on. It says
Whoop.
6 Fair Street front door compliance. on other
Yes.
business. What's that about?
So I have a photo to show you all. Thank you for that. So I don't know if you all are familiar, but there is this little bungalow. It's on Fair Street that's kind of been in some sad repair as far as front door goes. And we're being asked to give some recommendations to the owner on what type of door should be replaced. I guess it was boarded up with plywood because there was a hole and nobody's living in it, my understanding. So
Holly,
that's why.
A survey?
No, I did not look to see if there was a survey. I did look to see, it is on the NHL as a circa 1910 bungalow, but I didn't see an HDC survey.
Yeah, I'm sure that there was an existing door somewhere.
You think?
Does the owner know where the door is or have pictures of it? I mean, something had to go away for that plywood to go up, or there's something behind it.
You'd think there'd be pictures somewhere of this door, this building. Even an old street view photograph from Google. I mean, that plywood hasn't been there that long.
Was this
That thing's
Eric
been,
Kelly's old house?
it's been up there for a while, but
What, 10 years?
yeah. I think I remember like a single pane window with like 4 panels. That's my memory. But
I'd say almost anything.
Something like that.
Yeah, anything with glass above, panels below. I don't think I'd want to see a 9-light door here.
Yeah.
But 12 light I think would be fine, or maybe sort of a more Craftsman or something a little bit more. I mean,
yeah, like the chain of little windows around a central piece of glass would be awesome.
yeah, but they're not going to put the money into something like that. They need a stock door.
Yeah, well, there's the 6 light Simpson door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks like it was a porch on the face of the house and then got filled in. So it feels like whatever it is has to sort of keep that motif of glass above and panel below.
Yeah. Well, do
The
you want
lumber cells would probably know.
Yeah, you're right. Do you want to just make a recommendation of that 6 light, like 2 panel, sort of a Craftsman style door?
Yeah, 6 light 2 panel, 6 light 1 panel.
Okay,
6 light 2 panel or 4 panel?
either one.
Either one.
The 6
1
lights
quarter,
are
1/4 glass, 3/4
Yeah.
wood.
6 lights are similar in scale to that 6/1 that we see in the picture.
Okay,
All right.
that's helpful. Kathy had asked for this to be put on. She handles a lot of the compliance and people, requesting, does all the code stuff for the HTC. So this was something that's been on the HTC's agenda to get this property up into compliance. And so that is definitely beneficial, and I will provide that to them.
Great. Glad to see that happen.
Do you see the note by Mary with about the door?
Yes.
There's a picture.
Yeah,
No.
that's how long that plywood's been on there. So
Is there a,
But the assessor record does have a picture of a door.
Ooh, it does. Didn't even
It's
think
kind of
to look
hard
at
to
that.
see because
Can
it
you
kind of
make out
looks
what it
like.
is there any dialogue about demolition by neglect here?
I know it's come up.
Yeah, I think that has come up, but I don't believe it meets that criteria. And I could ask Kathy more about what she's been talking to town council and whatnot on different things.
Every
But I
year,
believe this was.
it's been a number
Oh,
of
go
years.
ahead.
It looks like every year it takes a little bit more weather and never sees work done.
Yeah, I think the owners just understands that the door needs to be replaced. Nobody's apparently living in it, which obviously you can tell. But that definitely needs to be
It's on the
taken
market.
care of. Is it?
Yeah, I just
You know
looked
what?
it up. Let's see. I think it was just listed.
Are you talking about 6
Um,
Fair Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
What property are you talking about?
We're talking about 6 Fair Street. Who was this speaking?
RS Charter.
Okay. And you are the owner?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Did you want to make a comment?
Basically, the plywood is there because someone tried to break into the premises while I was off having surgery for cancer, stage 2 cancer. And I am also have stage 3 cancer, and I'm working with that as well as I had just had my knees replaced. So it's not that I'm sitting there waiting to just, but I'm idling my time going out and sailing while the door needs to be repaired. I've been having medical problems, and I was in four medical offices last week in 4 days. So I'm working towards getting this repaired. And I'm sorry that my schedule doesn't meet with your schedule, sir. But whoever decided that they needed to put their fist through the door, perhaps they're the people that you should talk to. It does have a storm door that goes on there, but I thought it was kind of obnoxious to put a storm door on an interior door, which the previous owner had there, and it was a hollow door. So when they slammed their fist twice into the door, they put basically holes through the door. The intent of putting the plywood over the door was to make it weather tight until my health was in a situation to where I could deal with everything. And
Okay,
again, I apologize that everything isn't going according to your schedule, but I am trying my best. I'm into this meeting today because of the fact that HDC has a no walk into your office policy. I need to be able to get a door approved. And I was of the impression that this meeting was about concerned what type of doors would be acceptable to HDC. So I just didn't go out there in a wide range and try to find a door and then find out that I should have had guidelines beforehand.
Mhm.
I'm looking for guidelines now in purchasing a door that would be suitable to HDC so it can be replaced.
Okay, thank you. Did you hear the
And
earlier?
who are
part of
you,
the-
sir? Who are you?
I'm Mickey Rowland. I'm the chairman on the Historic Structures Advisory Board. And
Okay.
we're looking at this because it was put on our agenda and we were asked for recommendations as to what type of door would be appropriate.
And I asked that it be put on the agenda for the recommendations.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. So did you hear the recommendation earlier?
No, sir, I just came into the meeting when I heard you going off on a tangent about the fact that the door had plywood on it.
Okay. Well, we had recommended that there's a stock door that's made, should be easily ordered, that has 6 lights of glass on the top. And, maybe at some point, Holly, or we could get to you with the actual Simpson number or the model number.
Have you been to the property, sir?
I think we all know where this property
door
is.
with
yeah.
A door with 6 panes on it for that particular property, I think is totally inappropriate for an HDC recommendation.
Well, what was there
The
before?
front of the property is all glass. The front of that building is all glass.
Well, we
And
see a
front
photograph
of
on the screen.
What?
We can
Say
see a
again?
photograph of it right in front of us now.
Okay.
So,
And
our-
so you're suggesting instead of having a relief of something like an oval, that you want to have more glass right there, just to make it repetitious.
did you have something that you wanted to put there?
What I had purchased before and what I had intended to put there was a door that would be suitable for the area and also be suitable for that. It's called that type of a structure is called a bungalow, according to all the records that are available about it. It's a fairly new structure. It's not a historic structure. So basically, it has a large oval in the interior on the top 1/3, or maybe almost 1/2 of it, and then it has a handle, and then it's a solid on the bottom.
Okay, all right.
No,
So
it's
I think the normal procedure for an application like this would be for you to make an application to the HDC for a specific door. And then it goes through the usual route of coming to our board for a recommendation, and then it goes to the HDC for their approval or not. So if you have a specific door that you want approved, then that's probably what you should do, is to,
It's just the door that I had purchased before, but for some reason the builder got caught up in the double-digit $1 million projects and sort of left me in the dust. And so did the door get left in the dust. Unfortunately, with my health problems, I wasn't able to keep on top of the builder, and the door is no longer usable, and I will have to start from ground zero again. The only reason I'm before you today is because I was called about going before you about recommendations for a door. That's the only reason that I'm before you today. I did not request that I be here. The medicine that I'm taking really prohibits me from even talking properly. You can probably notice a slight stutter in my speech. And I am trying to deal with HDC's requests as well as with my request, which is basically to make the house inhabitable again and to move back into the house.
okay. Well, we had made a recommendation, and we're happy to have the staff forward that recommendation to you in terms of.
The recommendation you made is what, a 6/6?
No,
6 glass top?
it's I'm not even sure if there's a name for it, but it's a very traditional type of a door that you might see in a bungalow or a craftsman style building, and it has 6 lights that look very similar to the top of the window of the windows that are on the front of that building currently, and then there's a couple of long panels below it. So it's got some glass in it, not a lot, but it's got glass, and that's what we were recommending.
Okay. Personally, I would prefer a relief from just having glass completely across the front of the front of the structure, and have something such as an oval, which I will get an application. I will present it to HDC so that you can review it and see whether or not it meets with your approval.
Okay,
Okay.
That's a good way to handle it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Bowen. Bye.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Holly?
Yes.
Now that we've brought up conditions of neglect, is there any movement on the rear structure of 75 Main Street?
I believe that's been brought up to building inspectors to take a look at. I saw an email that you had sent from Kathy to a building inspector.
Yeah, that's a very historic structure, and it may not make it through this winter.
Lucy, what is that address again?
It's 75 Main Street. It's a brick, and when you walk down Liberty Street, it's got the brick wall. And which acts as one wall of this secondary structure of the brick mansion on Main Street, and the roof is caving in.
That's
Okay.
75.
This is-
70, I believe it is 75.
So
So
you're talking
that's
about-
the Henry Carlisle Coffin House. I'm pretty sure.
And it's one of the buildings in the back that you're talking about, Lucy. right?
Yes,
Okay.
the brick wall
It's
is,
pretty
needs-
significant.
The
It
brick-
definitely needs attention.
yeah, soon. Thank you.
All right. Was, anything else on the agenda?
Just to motion to approve the comments.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor, Lucy,
yes, I,
Aye.
Angus,
Aye,
I'm in favor.
motion to adjourn?
second,
All those in favor, Angus,
Aye.
Brooke,
Aye.
Lucy,
aye.
I'm in favor. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Rowland.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Angus, for signing up as vice chair.
Yeah, congratulations.
Take care, everybody.
You too.
See ya. See you next week.